Hello and welcome back to another new edition of Windows on Current Affairs. And today we continue to take a look over the one of the main important files in the state, which is the social protection programs that are provided for citizens, that are provided for special sectors in society, and how far have the government been able to reach out to those people. Of course, so many projects, so many programs, so many initiatives that are fall under the umbrella of the social protection programs, so many ideas and activities that were taken during the past maybe more than 7 years, in able to make things easy and facilitate lives and create livelihoods for the low-income brackets and more. Of course, we're going to be delving more into that particular file, and we're very delighted to be having with us right here in the studio live our dear guest, Dr. Hisham Abdel Salam. He's an economic development advisor. Good evening, Dr. Abdel Salam.
Good evening, Dina. Thank you.
Let us first take a look or give a definition over the social protection network. What exactly it is supposed to provide for every citizen?
The social support program in Egypt is one of the best in the region and possibly in the world, given that it has been developed and evolved over time, and it works according to a clear strategy and with clear objectives and eligibility frameworks. It's a multitude of programs that we will probably go through, and the advantage of the systems in Egypt is that they address very specific needs and requirements and segments and even geographies in the country.
They do also surveys, to our knowledge, right?
Absolutely.
I mean, is every person who requires a social protection program or assistance should be prone to the survey, should undergo the survey? I mean, can I give anyone any allowance, or should I put him through, he has to go through the survey program?
Actually, the Ministry of Social Solidarity has very, very specific criteria and eligibility framework. The enrollment is very simple, but the criteria and the eligibility is specific and clear. The funds are quite generous. However, they are earmarked for very specific purposes, and they cannot be double dipping. Certain cases could double dip into different programs depending on eligibility. However, the government is very clear about what funds is for what requirements and needs, and what the eligibility is, simply because we don't want any bias, and the system needs to understand the impact. So if you have clear performance indicators,
be very objective,
and you need to evaluate, so you cannot just keep on pumping money into these channels without understanding, are you making the right impact, are you achieving your objectives, should we rechannel those funds into something else? So that's why it's very specifically, the eligibility is a very clear process. However, that does not mean it's difficult.
Does it mean?
It is difficult to be eligible.
Difficult. Okay. So what type of survey program do I have to go through in order so that I can get an allowance to be able to facilitate my life, to assist me, start a new business or something? What should I go through first in order to get this assistance?
Sure. I mean, it depends on which program you're applying to. Each program has its own specific eligibility framework. The process is quite clear, easy, and standard and straightforward, depending on if you're applying, let's say, for a food subsidy program or tamween, you have to go through a certain analysis of your current situation, the level of income you're earning or the household is earning, what kind of access do you have to other subsidies in the country. Actually, this is a very standard international practice where you have to support the vulnerable or the needy or the impoverished segments of the society, but you also have to be very careful with your funding.
Right. What are the main social support programs in Egypt? Of course, the Ministry of Social Solidarity, in assistance or in collaboration with other sectors in the state, have managed to create social protection programs everywhere. And like you kindly mentioned, that it is supposed to be serving each case, or I mean, they are different. What are the main social protection programs that have proved success until this very moment?
Well, one of the largest in the world is the TKP, or Takaful and Karama program.
This was the first one.
Indeed, and the TKP is quite commended. I was just reading a report from the UNICEF about TKP, and it's almost a benchmark for other countries, particularly in Africa, where the international aid programs actually are looking at how Egypt has executed the TKP, so they can follow that lead. We have a health insurance program, which has been rolled out a couple of years ago in certain governorates. We have Decent Life initiative in rural areas of Egypt. We have education and vocational training, so education support, vocational training. We even have cash transfer support for eligible families, pensioners, disabilities. So each segment of the social network or safety net audience is addressed with a specific program for that particular need.
So we're going to talk about the pensions later on, and we're going to be talking about other programs. But let us first talk about the idea of allowances, or providing allowances for the needy people or the low income brackets, as long as they are not disabled, as long as that they are eligible for special job descriptions, they can still do some effort to earn their living, because I cannot continue all my life giving you allowances and at the same time you stay at home, and it won't be able to create any difference in your life, because one day it will stop.
Oh, definitely. I mean,
so is Takaful Karama doing any effort? I mean, was there any requirements? It was all about allowances?
There's parallel programs in terms of vocational training and education support. So the programs are there to support. So and we all know that it's to teach me how to fish is better than giving me a fish. So sustainable growth. Poverty is a cycle. We need to break the cycle. We need to give the right support, end the cycle, and support the next generation. There are many programs to create jobs and support jobs or entrepreneurship in Egypt. Egyptian youth are quite active. They are highly reliable. However, a lot of education and vocational training is required, and the government has allocated funds for that particular area. So it all goes in parallel. And as I said, the criteria is quite clear. It's evaluated all the time. The surveys are there. And I mean, every program will always have a loophole, but it's as comprehensive as it can be. Creating jobs, as you said, is the only way to get out of poverty. The support programs are not endless or bottomless. They end at some point. If you are able to earn, you have to prove that you cannot find a proper job, or your job is not giving you enough income. And there are families who are earning, but whatever they are earning, we all know about the inflation rates, and the official numbers are there. So the support programs consider that as well. In January this year, the Takaful and Karama budget has been doubled from $500 million, I think, to 1.5, or even tripled, and that's really a lot going into the system.
Right. In any country, in any place, any regime or any system, there are people who are eligible to be supported by the ministries of solidarity or other ministries on that concern. If they fit into that criteria, then they deserve that. And there are other sectors that would need a different type of assistance. Who is eligible? Who is supposed to be directly assisted by these programs, the social protection?
Sure. The obvious ones are those with disabilities who cannot earn their own living, and there are programs for that as well, for rehabilitation and so on. Healthcare is a major issue.
So is healthcare included
Insurance,
inside the...
health insurance. There are different types of health insurance. There's the universal health insurance system, which is being implemented in certain governments. But then out of that, you have segmentation. So the kind of deductibles or the amount of support you get from your health insurance system depends on your income. Just like in the United States, you have Medicare and Medicaid. Medicare is different from Medicaid. Certain brackets of income attract certain brackets of support. So healthcare is essential. Education is obviously heavily subsidized. All public schools are almost, subsidized. It's heavily subsidized. So those are the two basic elements. Eligibility or basically unnegotiable eligibility is disabilities, certain age, elderly and disabled, and also certain rural areas in Egypt have very limited job opportunities. So in that particular area, the government is supporting with almost all the time cash transfers to Kaflu, Corona, Decent Life, and so on, but also creating opportunities, creating national projects. We all know about all the national projects that in trillions of Egyptian pounds that have created thousands of jobs. Beside those projects that create employment opportunity, Egypt is spending over 12% of its GDP on social programs. That's a huge number, even compared to developed countries. There are everything can be improved. I guess in terms of the social support systems, awareness is very important. The process which you referred to earlier to apply needs to be probably made simpler and easier. Certain eligible individuals or families need to be approached and reached out to rather than them applying, because in many cases they don't even know about the programs or know they exist, or there are a lot of transactions that are not that transparent. So there is certain areas where we can improve it, but as it is, it's really world standards.
One of the most important successes of the time we're living in, ever since President Abdel al-Sisi, is the foreign policy, retaining our regional and international role amongst the world policies and economies, and also parallel to that, the social protection networks. The social protection activities and development is so huge and unprecedented that it has evolved into a different type. Not only allowances, not only answering the people's needs, but also projects. Housing projects, electricity projects, job opportunity projects. Look at Haya Karima or Decent Life, for example. This was supposed initially to be, according to the directives of the head of state, President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, one social protection program that's supposed to help people. But now it has developed to a whole new level that is covering the whole country with many services. It's like almost a government inside the government, and it's all 100% Egyptian, done by Egyptians. Even people, businessmen or entities that are supporting this program with the government are also doing a great job and very well organized. Let us just talk about it. How do you justify that success?
I guess we have to give credit to the Ministry of Solidarity. They have made huge effort to consolidate all the charities and all the foundations that are helping the vulnerable or the certain segments of the society. Egyptians are very generous by nature, and they're very compassionate and supportive of each other. And it's very unique in Egypt. I lived everywhere in the world, and it's very unique in Egypt how we are compassionate about each other and help each other. But there was a need to provide a mainstream for those fundings from individuals or foundations or charities. And previously, before the current regime, everybody did what they wanted. It was very easy to form a charity and do whatever you like, and that is very dangerous. It's very dangerous to allow this, because that involves cash transfers and so on. For security reasons, it cannot be left like that. So what happened was they have consolidated all those efforts. They have provided compliance requirements, and eventually it has become very organized. So the private sector operations in that space, along with the government programs, are going hand in hand, and the strategy is pretty much streamlined, and that is the secret of the success. We have to give credit to the Ministry of Social Solidarity and of course the other parts of the government. The outcomes are quite impressive in terms of the funds that go into major projects like hospitals, cancer hospitals, research, certain parts of the country where there's a focus on SMEs and developing the economic landscape of those parts of the country. For many reasons, they have been maybe ignored for many years. I think the key objective is always to prepare for the future. Generations to come need to start being part of a productive society, and job opportunities need to be sustainable, and vocational training and so on. 1997, China had 50% of the population, 70% of the population under poverty line. 1979 is not long ago. What happened? 1.4 billion people have become all employed, and it became the economic engine of the world. Egypt is going the same way. Illiteracy is being almost, I'm not going to say eliminated, but there's huge efforts to fight illiteracy and unemployment. We do have challenges like everybody else, but I think we are able to overcome most of those challenges on the short, medium, and long term.
But then also talking about the social protection programs, which is very unique in Egypt, and it's different from any other country. It's not a standardized type of social protection programs worldwide, but it's sort of very thoughtful, very creative programs, like those aiming the health security of people, like 100 million lives, and also initiatives, health initiatives for women and children, the cancer health initiatives, the different types of disease health initiatives that were launched during the past 8 or 7 years and achieved great success, and especially inside the the informal settlements, the resorted areas, the people in the villages, and the very low income brackets places, and have also set health awareness. If you like to elaborate.
You're absolutely right. Those initiatives, you have to keep in mind, those are huge funding requirements. Such initiatives, because it's a fast track, so those initiatives are basically built to kickstart a certain ongoing support system, and the advantage of an initiative is that it's got clear objectives, it's got a start and an end, and it's got a clear outcomes that need to come out of it, and then it becomes an ongoing support system. The funding for that is quite substantial, because it's usually launched at a huge scale. It's not like a gradual program or an ongoing program. It has a big budget, and it gets a push at the highest level of the administration, and that's the advantage of those initiatives. And I think my personal view is that those initiatives have come across to compensate for many years of neglecting such requirements or needs or suffering. So what we needed was a fast track with huge impact at the beginning, so we can see the difference immediately. And as you said, there are parts and segments of the population that need urgent help, and they cannot wait for long-term, slow programs that are too sophisticated and maybe overly engineered, and they will take time to implement. So initiatives is as you said, it's quite unique. I haven't seen that in many places around the world. It's quick, very well funded, and has very high impact. And that's the advantage of those initiatives. Mainly sponsored by His Excellency the President, of course.
And one of the most popular, I mean, regional wide also, not only in Egypt but in Africa, was the one that targeted the liver disease, and it even helped in decreasing
virus C, of course,
which was very successful and was implicated in other parts of Africa.
Sure.
This was one very good part of success. But also talking about the different types of social protection programs, also the initiatives. President Sisi have taken that particular job of social protection network and programs into initiatives, because you talked about the, pace of time, the element of time, which is very, it's very fast. It's reaching out in very little pace of time.
Huge resources.
With these characteristics, modern characteristics that did not exist before in any other country, he thought of not creating a program or a policy, but an initiative, because an initiative is a short while program that is aiming to reach out more, more quick than any other program. And that's why the initiatives were created. What type of other initiatives that really created success on the ground?
In my view, creating employment opportunities is a huge initiative that is nationwide, nation level, and it does.
The new capital, new administrative.
And of course, the national projects. Yes.
Those in their own right are social protection programs.
Absolutely, it's all in tandem. So everything goes on the same tune, in different ways, in different segments, in different parts of the economy. But at the end of the day, the whole point is create jobs, and that's the only way to end poverty. Ending poverty will not happen by social support, cash transfers. It will only happen if we have good vocational training, good education systems, good healthcare systems, and food subsidies for those who need it. But eventually, all of this is temporary solutions to take us to the next level where all the employable population is employed, so the income levels, the economic cycle is better, the income levels become higher, and at the same time we are modernizing our country. This is huge. So the generation which is going to be employed and having good income levels or better income levels than before will live in a modern nation, relatively to the previous few generations. And it's a win-win. So like you said, creating jobs is the key to those initiatives.
Right, we're going to go to a short break, and we'll come to continue our important discussion about the social protection program, so stay with us.